busy schedule.
I wonder if I've got time to record that list about the
transits. What's the moon
and
doing?
have to just
I gotta eat.
that day
I
around
gotta
a little
all
bit.
day.
I've got
God,
events
every
and
day.
stuff.
I spent a week. Next reading is last
Effie,
one.
where are you?
Okay.
Just
Career
grab
advice.
my water.
Hi,
It's
how's your day
Matilda.
going?
It's so nice to hear your voice.
Hello, Matilda.
Hi, Laurie. How are you? I always ask that. I already know before I ask the question because we've been on the phone for about an hour before we record.
Right.
But yeah, how are you?
I'm good.
Is it nice and warm there?
It is. I had to pop the AC on because my computer gets a little warm, and I'm lounging in bed while we do this.
You've been doing that the last couple of times we've been recording, and
I know.
I would like to announce to those that follow me on social media, I am wearing a jumper with long sleeves.
Ooh.
Because it's always hot, and I'm always complaining about how hot it is.
But the weather's cooled off, huh?
It's cooled off, and the mornings and the evenings are cool. It gets really warm about 4 o'clock, I think, when I don't know why, but it does. We've had daylight savings, so 4 o'clock seems to be the warmest time of the day, but that'll change over the next couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to the winter.
Yeah.
I am a winter bird. I will never be seeking the heat.
No, I'm not a big heat seeker. I do like the sunshine.
Yeah, no, I like sunshine. Spring weather is beautiful. I love autumn.
Same.
I'm too Irish and too fat to be in the sunshine, and too pale. I am pale as pale.
Yeah.
I am milk bottle white.
Yeah.
So
I'm not a sun seeker, but I do like, even though the places I like to live tend to be very sunny, I don't do excessive heat well, as my water retention will tell you.
we get to that age. I don't think you drink enough water.
I have drunk gallons. No, I have drunk gallons, and I'm using my hydration. It's just, my grandmother did too. So
really?
It's probably the Norwegian genes kicking in, going, we don't do this weather. What you doing, bitch?
My legs will swell up in the heat. I feel pain in the heat. You know how some people say that the cold will bring on their joint aches and things like that? The heat does that for me.
Ooh,
I
not
struggle,
fun.
and I don't know why it is. I think there's something very wrong with me. I am weird. But the heat will cause me to, like, my back will hurt, my ankles will hurt.
That's not fun.
It's not fun, and during the winter, I can walk for miles.
Oh, I love that.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm going to go shopping again. And then I'll get into a mall and I'll walk around to get my steps in.
Yeah. You'll do what I did the other week. Do you remember when I was in Melbourne and I was next to the mall and I went there and just walked for miles? It's nice. It's good to walk in the air conditioning.
I'm good with that. By the way, you were there getting your photos done. Those turned out so gorgeous. Have you guys checked out her website? Oh, so fly.
I'm very pleased with it. That's only one. I've still got about 4 or 5 that she's finishing. I had to choose 6. And we sat and we were going through them and we ended up choosing 8. So she said, you can have an extra 2. So there will be more.
Nice.
But I wanted to get a fresh look on my podcast and my website.
I love that.
My website had been quite old, very old and very mundane. And I thought, no, I need to brighten it up because I'm a bright, cheerful person. Really, I am.
Bright little ducky.
Most of the time, I am bright and cheerful.
You motivated me to get my Laurie Rivers site done. So Woke Astrology we updated it last year, but my site, I did that. Actually, it was like, I went to somewhere to get something done. And when they asked me what I did for a living, I was like, I'm an astrologer. And they were like, ooh, and they immediately Googled me and LaurieRivers.com came up and I was like, shit, I need to fix that site. So I immediately went home and did it. Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
It worked out.
It looks great. I've been. I was. Was it on Laurie Rivers or Woke? I can't remember, but I was stealing pictures to do a flyer for an event.
Oh yes, for our event.
Yes, and you were asleep, so I just stole them from your website.
I'm okay with that. I've sent you the main one so that you can.
Yeah, I've got that. I've got to change it up. But yes, we do have a very exciting 2 events coming up.
And we do
in May, which is only next month.
Yeah, it's like 2 weeks away. Or even a week and a half away by the time people are listening to this.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Because we're pre-recording.
Time just catches up with me sometimes. We are in the middle of April and we are hurtling towards May, and Laurie and I are going to be doing a couple of very exciting events that are going to be held on Zoom. At one on the 4th of May and one on the 5th of May.
They hit all the time zones because we have global audiences. So
yes, they are not different events.
Nope.
But they are being held at they are the same event being held at different times because we have a global audience, and it was held trying to decipher when we were going to do this. So we said, because otherwise we were going to be ending up doing it, I think my time at 3 a.m. or something like that.
We can't.
Time zones. And you and I both know that that's not a practical time.
That's never,
to be awake.
ever. No, it's never happening.
Laurie can work through the night and manage on the sniff of an oily rag, whereas I need my 8 hours with my sleep mask, my air purifier, and my lavender pillow.
You're such a Taurus. It's so cute.
Do you know what my favourite thing to buy is? Pajamas.
Oh, I have some lovely pajamas.
Search for pajamas, and I will change my pajamas every single night. I know not a lot of people do that. They've got to be cotton, and they've got to be cozy. And I love it, but the winter ones aren't out just yet. If anyone wants to sponsor me, any pajama companies, just get in touch. I literally, last year, every time I made a video in the mornings, I had pajamas on, and people would say, "Where'd you get your pajamas from?" I was promoting these companies.
Right.
You know, so any pajama companies listening, send me some.
All I have my funky pajamas, and they are silk. I love silk pajamas.
Okay.
And I have a bunch of them with like astrology themes, but I also have some that are just super fun. So
I've never owned silk pajamas, but I am incredibly fussy about what I sleep in, and I'm so scared of feeling the same in silk pajamas as I did in, the nylon ones we were made to wear growing up in the 70s.
Not even close. I am so texture sensitive. Yeah, no. I am so texture sensitive. And what I like is because, woman of a certain age, I don't overheat in them.
Maybe I need to look at some.
You might want to try. Just try some.
Yeah, maybe I'll try. My fear is that in the winter I will get too cold. But I don't think that's a thing anymore for me.
I haven't got my cousin-in-law was like, "Aren't you feeling cold?" I'm like, "Honey, I haven't felt cold in years." So I don't get cold anymore.
You cut out then?
Oh, did I? No, I said I don't get cold. I haven't got cold in years. So
it's a new thing for me. I thought I was past it. I thought I escaped. I thought that I had escaped it. And in this last couple of months, I have really struggled with somebody injecting heat into me in the middle of the night.
Same.
So
it's been a lot.
I will try some silk pajamas. I will see if I can find some. But yeah, I've been very anti buying anything but cotton. I don't like flannelette, obviously because they get too hot. But I love pajamas. Pajamas are my favourite thing. My bed is my favourite place in the world.
I love that.
I think it goes back to when do you know when you were a kid and if you wanted, like I grew up in a busy household and I wanted to escape, I would go to bed and read. I would, whatever time of day or night it was. And we had a set of encyclopedias at the bottom of our stairs and I'd sort of pick one on the way up and that's what I'd read. And my love of Enid Blyton, Mallory Towers. I've been trying to find the original Mallory Towers books because I loved them so much. But yeah, I would go to bed and read, and I think it's my safe space.
Yeah, I love that.
So, but yeah, and plus I like sleep. I make no bones about the fact that I am a Taurus, and I like
naps and snacks.
Yep, our first ever episode was about naps and snacks.
Yep.
But yeah, we were going to talk about, before we forget, we started off talking about the events on the 4th and the 5th of May. And what we are going to be doing is Laurie and I work really well together in a way that you get more information. So if you have a reading with me, you get a lot of information and I make predictions online. And if you have a reading with Laurie, you get really in-depth information. But when we put our abilities together,
it's like superpowers.
It's like superpowers. And we get the ability to drill down a bit further. And that's what we want to bring to you. It's going to cover the period of May, June, and maybe a little bit into July. And current affairs topics, things coming up, things that we see in different areas of the world to watch out for. And yeah, so it's a bit of a seminar presentation.
Yeah, it's an event.
It's an event.
Yeah, I mean, to show up, we'll dazzle you with our brilliance.
Yes, because we are brilliant.
We are brilliant.
But together, we are a superpower.
It's like, there was a cartoon in the 70s that was Super Friends and Justice League, and there were the Wonder Twins, and they'd bump fists and they'd go, Wonder Twin powers activate, form of ice bucket. I'm a mop, or whatever. It was really silly and dumb. But anyway, we're like the Wonder Twins, but we're not silly and dumb. Well, we're silly, but we're not dumb.
We are silly. We're not dumb.
I'm a little sleep deprived still, so I may not be as coherent. I promise I won't be sleep deprived. Well, I can't promise that for one of those days.
We can fill you full of Red Bull coffee. And
no Red Bull. Oh, I don't do energy. As much coffee as I drink, I ginseng.
But we are going to do these events. They are going to be fun and you will enjoy yourselves. So keep an eye out. They are going up. They will be on Patreon. And you can book them through either of our Patreon pages and our link tree or my link tree. Do you have a link tree?
I do. I have a link page. Yes, I do.
Yeah. Yep. And what else was I going to say? There will be discounts if you are a paid Patreon supporter.
$15 and up. Both of us. Both of our Patreons, $15 and up. Get the juicy discounts on this one.
Get the juicy discounts. So, that is...
Have you noticed that, speaking of link pages and link trees, it always gets me when people are like, do you do this? Or how do I find your podcast? I'm like, the link in my bio. The link in my bio. If you've used TikTok for more than 5 minutes, people have links in their profiles.
Whilst we are on this topic, right, we have playlists.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Oh, okay. To find a playlist, you actually have to open up our profile, and they are just above the videos. There's like a line of them. Use them, people. Use them. I did a live. I get asked this on a lot of my videos, but I did a live the other day. I had over 500 people in that live. Nice. How my mods managed, I do not know, because they were all going, oh my God, oh my God. Everyone was asking a question, which, it's lovely that you joined me on a live, but the questions are a bit much sometimes and a bit ridiculous.
You don't have to answer all of them.
I don't have to answer all of them, but there was a lot of people in there, and the mods were saying, check out her playlists, check out her playlists.
Mm-hmm.
Where do I find a playlist? Where's her playlist? What's the website for the playlist?
Maybe we need to do like a how-to video, because I think people don't know.
Yeah, you could well be right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I'm getting some questions on my Patreon too, where people don't know how the app works. And I'm such a techie, I'll get onto something new, I'm just going to click around. But
yeah,
not everybody's going to do that. So maybe we should both do that, make like little videos.
Yeah,
so.
I'm going to go in. I'm in the midst of cleaning up my Patreon, because when I started it, I didn't understand it. So
honey.
I'm tidying up those collections to make sure that people can find them, and making sure that everyone's got access to links and things like that. So I am doing that this week. I did speak to somebody.
I've been working on mine too.
Well, I looked at finding someone through Upwork to do it for me. Cheeky thing, because I think it's about 2 hours work. If I provide the images and the information, it's 2 hours work. She wanted $600 US.
Oh, shit.
And I went, no.
That's like a little excessive.
That to me is very excessive. And look, she may have been incredibly good at what she does, but if I plot along at it over the next week, it'll be cleaned up.
Yeah.
I just need to set myself some goals. Yeah.
That's a lot.
So, yeah. So I'm going to do it myself, and I'm going to buy myself a new pair of sunglasses with the $600 I save.
There you go. That's how you do it. I love that justification. That works for me.
That's called girl math.
It is girl math.
Yeah.
Good. Well, what's up today? See, we were in Lake. Jinx, you owe me a soda.
Is that what you used to say when you were a kid? Jinx,
yeah, that's it.
Soda.
Yep.
Well, we were going to talk about, and there's a saying called, and we talked about this last week, and we said we'd do it a bit more in depth. Jack of all trades when it comes to metaphysicians. I said it. I said the word.
You said it. Maybe you'll get to sneeze too.
I was having trouble with that last week. I couldn't say the word. The jack of all trades. Now, I understand that a lot of people like to have a finger in every pie. Laurie herself, she's an astrologer. That's what she does professionally. You also have a strong intuition. You're very psychic. You don't charge for that. It's part of the service. But you have that ability. You do read cards on the side, and
that was my gateway.
That was her gateway drug.
But I don't want to. It was my gateway drug, but I don't do it professionally. You know.
I have never had an interest in tarot cards, although I pull them out every now and again when a friend wants a reading, because it makes them feel like they're getting something tangible.
To be honest, that's how I read cards, because I got bored. I know, you know me and my brain. I got bored with tarot.
Unfortunately, I do.
And I went to playing cards.
Right.
And I was just as accurate. And so I actually like pretty oracle cards because I like the art.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I have used playing cards as well. But what I want to talk about is on social media, we see
stay in your lane.
A menu of modalities. So you will see a menu of modalities, and it will be, I'm a psychic medium, and the chances of them actually being a fucking medium are slim to none.
Yeah,
because
it's very rare.
It's very rare.
Very
and just so people understand,
same with astrologers, though.
Same with astrologers. So all mediums are psychics. Not all psychics are medium across the board. But they said psychic medium, tarot card readers, Reiki master. They may, runes, rods,
bones,
they spirit boxes. If you are going to charge people for a modality, specialize in it, because having a finger in every pie is great. It's great that people have extracurricular activities and interests, but you cannot be a master of everything.
No.
And I don't have the brain space. I will dabble in certain things, but I don't understand astrology. I have no wish to understand astrology. I don't have the brain capacity. I think we sorted that out when I asked you what sort of moon something was the other day. I don't have the brain capacity for astrology. So
well, I wouldn't call it brain capacity. I would just say your mind works differently than an astrologer's mind. Not everybody's meant to be everything. Like,
No.
I can't emotionally detach. If I were to do mediumship, I have a hard time with people's grief.
Right. Okay.
And that's a me thing. That's a personal thing. I have enough of my own that I just can't sit in it. I can't detach and let it wash you like you can. Not that you haven't had your own grief, but you're made up differently than me.
I'm made up very differently, and it's very strange being a full-time medium and having lost people. And I'm going to make a big claim here is that I have not had my loved ones come to me during my life, but we did have a talk about this just before.
We did.
I'll go into that in a second, but I do a job. I jump in, I jump out. If I let the energy wash over me, I'm not being of service to the people that I am serving. I did a 10-person Zoom reading the other night, and by the end of that reading, because the last couple of readings were very emotional, they were all emotional, but they were very, I had 10 people crying. And I go, oh, I did a good job. But for me, I have to dip in and dip out of the energy, because if I get attached to the grief, I'm then not serving the people I serve. And
exactly.
And I do this every single day, or not every day. You know, it's my
close
job.
To it. Yeah. No, I get it.
Would be a complete and utter mess, and very few things affect me emotionally. Animals, we've had this conversation just earlier.
Because you have that beautiful Virgo moon.
I was struggling to not cry over something that I was watching on social media, but I realised something today, and it's really interesting. Today is the anniversary of my own mother's passing, and I actually hadn't thought much about her today for various reasons. It's not that she's not on my mind, but I didn't actually think about it. I did 5 readings today. Not all of them were mediumship. There was 2 mediumships, and I realised that every single reading had a connection to my mother.
Aww.
From names to birthdays to even my son's birthday, and Germany, which is where I was born, and how somebody passed and all of that. And it was all connected to my mum and her energy. So I always take that yes, my mum is around.
She snuck it in. She got there.
Snuck it in.
Aww.
And I didn't necessarily have the greatest of relationships with my mum. I always say to people, it just goes to show that whatever happens on the earth doesn't transpose to the afterlife. And they will always step forward in some way. But yeah, it took a conversation with you. Then I went, oh,
you did. You had that big aha.
I had that big aha. I was cutting onions at the time. Because in between recording, I was.
And she really was. She was really cutting onions. And I was like, cut away.
I was cutting onions for my halloumi burger. So yeah, that was very enlightening today. But it's a really good reminder, especially when you do attend things like group readings. There is a word for it, and you're going to find this word because I can't. When people come through in group readings, and it's not necessarily the name the date, the place, the information may resonate with you, but when I drill a bit further, it's for somebody else that's in the group.
Yes.
And
it's resonance.
It's resonance, and it's there. That is still an indication that your loved one has been around. It's still a resonation that they're there. Just because you are not getting the reading doesn't mean to say that they are not around. And when I do the 10-person groups, everybody gets a reading. But the 50 people, which is more of a display, they're a cheap and cheerful way to watch me work, and a handful of people get readings, that's when you need to remember the resonance that people there will be clues. There will be little bits of what's the Taylor Swift people call them? Easter eggs. There will be
the Easter eggs. Yeah.
I like that.
And there
I like
are.
that actually.
That is sweet. I love that.
Yeah, it's a really sweet little way. Yes, where's my Easter eggs? I ate them all. But I just talking about the modality side of things. We don't have to be a jack of all trades.
No.
To be
I do ask when I'm training professional astrologers, once they learn the astrology, which is a mental discipline, you don't have to have, and I believe everybody has some kind of intuition, but you don't have to have a lick of it, let's put it that way, to be a good astrologer at all. But a lot of people drawn to it happen to also be intuitive. And so once somebody is rock solid, in fact, my intermediate students right now have been going through it because I've been making them do charts. And I'm like, okay, you analyze that really nice about the person. Where's the astrology? Give me the astrology, which is what my teachers did to me. Like, okay, great. You can intuit. Tell me why. Because again, we're talking math and it's like data science. But once you get good at the astrology, fair enough, I'm going to say, go get some development in your intuition. Not so you can be a professional psychic, but so you can tell, because we are looking at possibility and probability. And when you're trying to narrow down the probabilities, you have to be able to trust yourself. And the best way to trust yourself is to develop your intuition. Because but you want to take classes, don't develop your intuition,
you've got to know yourself. And I always say that to people: get to know who you are. Don't try and listen to another energy or something external until you know who you are. Your battery's going again, isn't it?
It is. It's fine. Keep talking.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But just don't. It's great to have different modalities and different interests.
But you shouldn't have a freaking laundry list. I mean, I was telling Matilda, I've been a Reiki practitioner since 1999. It is not something I do professional.
And Reiki is only worth it if it's somebody that is at a certain level as well and has practiced at a certain level. And there's a lot of people sending distance Reiki and distance energy.
You have to be attuned. You have to be attuned to a certain. I'm attuned to this level.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I don't charge for it. I've told people in our Discord here at the Awake Space, if you need Reiki, let me know. Because proper Reiki will never deplete you. And why do I not charge for it? It's a personal decision. I'm not a healer in this lifetime. That was many lifetimes, but not this one. Not that way. Not that kind. So, But notice, probably nobody knows other than a few of the patrons who remember I posted that.
Yeah.
It's not on my list of services.
Yeah, but I've seen people that offer mediumship, psychic, tarot card, Reiki, astrology. Oh, God. It's dangerous to have a small amount of information and then use that information to think that you are helping somebody, or worse still, for somebody to think you are helping them.
100%.
What's the
very
other
unethical?
Yeah, kinesiology. They just get a list. And
my best friend is a kinesiologist.
Oh, really?
She's very good.
But what I find quite disturbing, I don't know whether disturbing is the right word, but when I am in a live or people want to ask me questions, it will be, what do you think of astrology? What do you think of? Can you tell me about this in this? They'll ask me.
Yeah, I get that
questions.
stuff too.
They'll ask me Reiki questions. They'll ask me tarot questions. And this is why, again, social media is dangerous. A small amount of information is actually quite dangerous.
It's very, very dangerous. Yeah, and it's extremely dangerous.
We don't know. I am a professional psychic medium. I've never dabbled in anything else. I don't want to dabble in anything else. This is enough. Thank you very much. I am like, this is, I do not, okay. I love what I do. I love being able to help people. I do not like being sensitive. I don't.
Well, that's why I don't.
Overwhelming. And that is why I have learned to dive in and out of energy and be very conscious. We're going to have another word here.
You did it. You said it. You said it. You got it.
Why I am very conscious of my psychic health, and people that ask, do you go up to people in supermarkets? No, I fucking don't. If I'm at the supermarket, I'm there to do my shopping. And you're a plumber? Do you go to the supermarket and fix their taps?
Exactly.
I can think of nothing worse. If spirit know that they are not to be in my head, and I have chosen not to tune in, then they will not be there. I think that Hollywood has done a lot of damage.
Hollywood's done shitloads of damage.
Metaphysical side of things. And I was talking to somebody the other day about the fact that people assume that we see spirits in 3D. That doesn't always happen. It happens.
It depends on the situation and the person. It depends on the situation.
But for me, it's only happened half a dozen or so times. Most spirits will visit me in my head. And the visions and things like that. A 3D spirit sat next to me on the bed is not welcome most of the time. But that's why
not unless they're really cute.
Not even then. Not even then. There was a woman that wasn't there a TV show about someone that had a relationship with a ghost?
That was it's an old movie. Well, there was an old movie. What was it, Mrs.
I know. It used to be one of my favourites, and they were sat on the bridge. One of them died in the car accident, and they were sat on the bridge, and it was a black and white movie.
It was a beautiful old film.
I need to know
the Ghost and Mrs. blah blah blah. The Ghost and Mrs. blah blah blah. Google the Ghost and Mrs. blah blah blah.
Listen, I don't want a 3D boyfriend, let alone a ghost. So
I don't want a boyfriend.
We're just going to, I'm done with, definitely not a metaphysical boyfriend.
Unless they do laundry and dishes.
We've talked about this. We've talked about the slave. We've talked about the dating in our 50s and how appalling and sad and miserable it is, and how men just seem to, I think they want to marry a new wife. I think a lot of men our age.
That was big time. Oh, so looking for wifey. And I'd be like, oh, no. That's why they go after younger women, because younger women haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah. Yes. And they want to be a wife. They think being a domesticated is all exciting. And didn't we, when we got married in our 20s, think that being domesticated was exciting? And part of, I was never going to be a servant, but the fact that we could cook a meal together and, I get to clean this house and it's mine.
I hired somebody to help clean
you were
my
in
house.
Bahrain.
I was in
hire
Bahrain.
Someone now.
Yeah.
I am in my 50s.
That was the hardest thing to lose was having help.
I can imagine that. I can definitely imagine that.
Especially with kids.
I send my laundry out.
That's good. I've started to.
I made a joke when I was married that I was never going to be a 1950s housewife. Bearing in mind, I had my own business and worked incredibly hard. I had 2 teenage sons and a husband that travelled constantly.
Right. Yeah.
So all of their shirts, their school shirts. I would be
Oh, there
dropping
you
off
go.
15 shirts off at the laundry every
Right.
Friday, and I had a cleaner come in. I wouldn't buy prepared meals, but I would pre-prepare meals.
Oh yeah, I did meal prep. Yeah, big
Yeah,
time.
and that
Especially
sort of
when the
thing.
kids were teenagers, because my God.
The events, the things they had to do, with the drop-offs and the pickups, and I'm playing soccer. And
I
I
was
lived
a mom
out of town.
taxi. I will say that.
Yeah,
I was a mom taxi
and
for a
I
long
lived
time.
out of town, so it
So did
was
I.
always a bit of
Yeah.
a nightmare. But yeah, I was never going to be a 1950s housewife. And do you know what? I'm very proud of being able to do what I did. Just
Yeah,
because I
same.
didn't iron shirts doesn't
Yep.
make me any less of a woman. And I am the only daughter of a family of all men. And my father, I would go home and he wouldn't have seen me for 2 or 3 years because I live overseas.
Right.
And
yeah.
the first fucking thing he'd say to me is, the airing cupboard needs cleaning out and can you clean the fridge?
Oh.
I am not joking. Like, would he ask any of his 3 sons to do that? No.
I would have said some bad words.
I think I muttered under my breath, but I just in the end, I just went, it's just not worth it. I'll do it. I'll slip some arsenic into his cheese whilst I'm cleaning out the fridge and we're fine. But yeah, that would be exactly, it would be literally, hi, nice to see you. Do you want a cup of tea? The airing cupboard needs sorting out and the fridge needs sorting out. And I can guarantee I have 3 brothers and not one of them would ever have been asked to do any of that. Yet,
I think my dad and my shouting matches were legendary. And so just you could see the smile on my face. I'm like, yeah. My dad knew he was sick when I fetched him things.
Wow.
He knew he's like, am I going to die? Why are you just, and I was like, well, you're not dying on my watch yet. Watch the mouth.
No, my dad is just traditional Irish, and he grew up being waited on by women. My mother waited on him, and I was too timid and scared.
I can understand that. In the family dynamic, that makes total sense.
Family dynamic that I grew up, it's very misogynistic, without a shadow of a doubt. And this is why I live 12,000 miles away from my family.
No, I totally get it. I did that as a young person. I had to go back to the States. I didn't have a choice, but I wouldn't have. But the only reason I'm like that with my dad is my grandmother was a trailblazer and worked. Like when women got like those 50s housewives, my grandmother was building a career when women didn't. And my dad was resentful. Like, my mom worked. I'm like, F off, dude. Yeah.
I don't
you poor little tortured soul.
Expected to have a career. Before I was a medium, I was very successful doing what I did, and it certainly wasn't expected. In my mother's words, I was to be a nurse or work at the local supermarket.
That's a really old way of looking at it, yeah. My ex-husband, my second husband is a second husband, an ex-second husband, because that was his opinion.
Wow.
And as much as my grandmother was a trailblazer, my mom's side of the family, my mom was the first to graduate high school, and I was the first to graduate college, university. So, really? Yeah, because her side, were much more traditional, and she was fine being a wifey and all of that.
I think it's, if you are fine being something, there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. Whoever told us we could have it all,
he was lying.
They were lying.
You can have it all, not at the same time, though. Yeah,
not at the same time. My mother told me that she would not pay for my education past 16.
Wow.
So I did everything myself. I am the only member of my family to go to university, and I have 3 brothers.
Wow.
None of them went to university.
Wow.
Yet I am the one that cleans the airing cupboard when I go back to the
Right?
UK. Yeah.
Well, you got boobs. You got
I'm
boobs. What are you
just,
for?
yeah,
You
I'm just going
know,
to use this economics doctorate whilst I fold this fitted sheet. Don't even
right?
fold my own fitted sheets.
No way, man. No way. No. But yeah, and I think that's also why if like people don't like you brought up an important thing. It is cultural, it is social programming, it is all of that. It takes a long time to deconstruct. Um and I still fell into some of it, like I thought like if I loved hard enough or like I felt bad because I'm not good at domestic tasks because again, we are both blind in one eye, but your good eye is way better than my good eye.
Absolutely. So
I haven't had vision that good since I was like 5 years old. So I don't see well. So guess who is not good at keeping house?
yeah,
I don't. When I can see the dust bunny, it is Godzilla. It is Mothra. It is not. It's not a wee thing.
I live alone, but I still have a cleaner that comes through every 2 weeks. But I also am physically impaired. So she does things like change my bed linen. Mm-hmm. I try and do it the alternate weeks and things that I can't physically do. Because I do have a lot of back pain and I choose my tasks.
But also hear this, like even if you weren't, my argument is if you pay a fair wage, and that is what somebody does for a living, that's an economic exchange. Just like somebody is coming to me for a reading from my expertise. Trust me, when I have people come in and help tidy my stuff, because I do have a lady who comes in and helps in California, I pay her. And I don't go, oh, let me cheap out on this, because she's skilled and she doesn't screw up my stuff and she understands I can't see and she makes sure that things don't get moved in the wrong places.
Right.
It gets placed where I can find it because, I can see up close. I can't see. Well, you've heard me fall.
Yes.
Yes. If things are in the way, I will trip over them, and it's not good.
We're going to get Laurie one of those walking frames that glows in the dark so she can feel her way before she walks. Or one of those, I don't know, the sticks with the ball on or something like that.
Yeah, my daughter wants me to get a guide dog.
I don't think you need a guide dog. I think that's the last thing you need in the world.
She wants the guide dog.
I think she probably wants the guide dog.
She wants the guide dog.
The cane with the ball on the end of it,
so
that
that'd be great.
You can just accidentally swipe them across.
I was thinking of that, just walking down the street, like.
Yeah, you've annoyed me.
I'm good.
I don't like that jacket you're wearing. You should try that. But yeah, I got lumbered with it. I've got a 4-bedroom, 2-living-room house, and it's me.
That's nice.
And Buff.
Yeah.
I do not use all of it, but someone else to come and clean and tidy. And I love it. I love it when she's here on a Monday and it starts the week beautifully for me. And I don't have to think about it because I'm messy. I am really messy.
I'm messy
I think
too.
my ex-husband was more domesticated than I was.
Sometimes are.
I will, because I've got a spare bathroom that's got the bath in, and sometimes I'll go and have a bath 2 nights in a row, and I'll go, oh, I left those clothes there from when I got undressed yesterday.
I've done that.
But yeah, I can get slack, and I get very tired. And also, when I think of how much I can earn in the 2 hours, 3 hours it'll take to clean a house, someone else can do that for me. And I only have to
outsourcing. Outsourcing is important. We cannot do it all at the same time. And I can tell you, I had success in business raising my kids, but it was different than now because I was raising my children.
Yes.
And I raised my children, and that was important to me. And to me, being a housewife and a mom are 2 different subjects. I think they're 2 different skill sets. So
in my house, I used to have an office. So you'd have a drive-in garage and it had 2 doors, one to my office, but you could get through my office to the rest of the house, which is where the kitchen was. And the other door went into the kitchen. And I worked from home. And school holidays, people just assumed that Matilda was at home. So not only did I often have my own children, did I have other people's children? Now, I have 2 sons. That is not a quiet thing to have.
No.
And then you add 2 more boys because someone's dropped their kids off. It's even louder. And then you get 2 more boys, and it is even louder. So, yeah, people used to drop their kids off, and they were never available to have my children. Sorry, I've actually got to go to work. People just assume that when you work from home, it's easier.
Oh, yeah, been there, done that.
The economic side of it, though, I mean, if you think about it, in the US, you don't get maternity leave.
No, I didn't have little ones in the States. Well, I didn't have infants in the States. I had toddlers in the States. But
those
childcare was expensive then. It's way more expensive now. And I couldn't trust people. So like when I first came back, my very, very dear friend from high school, I moved near her and we got her licensed to do my childcare.
Oh, wow.
Because it was a herd of wild elephants wouldn't have got through her to my children, And so, because I was like, you're expecting me to put my kids with strangers? And I'm like, I minored in cultural anthropology. And I'm like, that is the least natural thing for a human being to do, is to take a very vulnerable child and thrust it into the hands of somebody you don't know or can trust. I mean, you're just going, oh yeah, so you're a professional. And then people are shocked at what happens in these places. And I'm like, I'm not shocked. This is not natural. And so, I had a friend do it, but once we moved to a very rural area and I looked at what was available and didn't have any close friends, I was like, oh, no. Because it was kind of a meth. There was a lot of methamphetamine production in that area. We were in a nice spot, but because my ex-husband is a park ranger, he's very good at that. But the surrounding area was like, I was like, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
So I had to take an economic hit and get good at business on my own.
Yeah. But I understand it that the US doesn't have, like, some people go back to work 2 weeks after having a baby.
Yeah. There's no maternity leave.
And there's no maternity leave.
There should be 6. Maybe it got canceled, but there was supposed to be like 6 weeks, but really 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
6 weeks?
We get 12 months.
That's beautiful.
I was watching something the other day and it's really opened my eyes. In Australia, I'm sorry if you're listening to this in the US, I know this is going to traumatize you. We get a minimum of 4 weeks annual leave. That's paid time off. On top of that, we get, I don't know, about 10 public holidays a year, including Christmas Day, Boxing Day, a 4-day weekend at Easter. We've got another one coming up.
Bank holidays.
Anzac Day. They're called bank holidays. We've also got a day off for football matches and horse races. On top of that, we get 7 or 8 days per year what's called carers leave. So if you've got a member of your family sick or your child is sick. On top of that, we get sick leave. That's usually 7 or 8 days a year. And after 10 years of working for an organisation, you then get what's called 10 weeks long service leave.
Wow.
That you can take at any stage. 6 months paid maternity leave, I think. And often people will flip it. So the husband will get 6 months paid leave. The wife will get 6 months paid leave. So they take 6 months off each. So that is Australia. And people will save up. If you leave a company at 5 years, you then get you get a percentage of your long service leave paid out to you, as well as anything else you've accrued. But many people will add up their long service leave and all their holidays, like some of them, not all of them.
Yeah.
And when they choose to retire 5 years
they get
early,
it cashed
10 years
out
early, well, they actually get half pay for the part period, or they can get it cashed
Mhm.
out,
Mhm.
or they can say, okay, well, I'm going to retire at this date, but for the next 5 years, I want half pay as well as my
Nice.
pension. And on top
Nice.
of all of that, every company must contribute 9% of your annual salary to your retirement fund.
Nice.
So, sorry, the USA, but I thought I'd make that's the difference between the two countries. That's why we're so laid back.
Yeah. I'd be putting shrimp on the Barbie too.
Shrimp.
Now you know why I worked so hard, though.
Yeah.
There was no
absolutely. I
guarantee.
know why you work hard.
There's no guarantees, and it's just this drive. And now I've always been driven by personality.
Yeah.
That's some of it is just Laurie being Laurie. I'm like a border collie. I need a job. Or I get into a lot of trouble.
Uh-huh.
So we've got to keep this mind entertained. But yeah.
But like me, I'm in my 50s. I am divorced. I am working to make money as a self-employed person for my retirement.
Yep. Same.
I'm very lucky that I have plans in place. There are many women in their 50s, whether they're in the US or Australia, that are currently very, very precariously placed because of divorce or loss or...
I was late 40s. And I started again from nothing. Now, I knew I could do it, but I knew I was cutting the wire pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I started
But you can't have this attitude of, oh no, what'll I do? And why won't somebody save me? I mean, you've got to like deconstruct hard. It's like that sound on TikTok. Don't ask me how I did it. I just did it.
Yeah. But it's this apathy that seems to have been sprinkled amongst people of it's hard, I'm tired. Everyone is hit with difficulties. It is not about what you are hit with. It is about your ability and your resilience to deal with what you are faced with. And that is the God's honest truth. And I suppose, you know, you and I, Laurie, are cut of the same cloth.
Yeah.
If different shapes of that cloth, that we are both very driven in what we do. We both love helping people.
Yes.
And want to inform and educate.
Yes.
And we do get frustrated, though. I spoke to Laurie about this today, that I came off the phones at some point and I felt as if I was banging my head against a brick wall because of the apathy of people wanting answers without doing the work.
Yeah. There's no magic bullet, guys. I don't care. Like, even if you're like, I know people don't like the term law of attraction. It is actually a universal law. There are other laws as well. It is not the only law. However, it's not just you sit there and you and it all shows up in your lap. You get clarity. You ease into that which you desire, and then you take intuitive action and aligned action. At no part do they say just sit there and wait for stuff to fall from the sky, because it might be a coconut that hits your head. So, you know,
aligned action is very important, and
it's extremely important.
The more you have apathy, and I know a lot of people are in that freeze mode right now. They've been in the fight, flight. We've been through COVID. But fuck, guys, COVID was 4 years ago. Is it 4 years ago? 3 years ago. 4 years ago. 4 years ago that we first got hit with COVID.
Yeah.
Okay? We know it's affected you, but you've had 4 years to get some strength.
And honestly, if that was the worst thing, other than those of you who lost family members in tremendously horrible ways, you are not part of what I'm about to say. But if being stuck at home was the worst thing that ever happened to you, God bless you. I wish that was my trauma. My empathy was not strong on that one. It was important for people to sit with their own selves and realize their own lives and whether they were in or out of alignment. if you were out of alignment, then do something about it. Get in alignment. Sorry, I'm cranky about that today.
No, I totally get you. I fucking loved it.
I did too. It was one of the best times of my life.
It was the fact that I didn't have to make any excuses to not leave my home was amazing. Mm-hmm. I was living in the centre of Melbourne. It was around the 3 months in that I moved out to the country. And that was fun because we forgot we were in a pandemic at the time. I'm going to move, she says. And, oh, yes, we are actually in the middle of a pandemic. But I have to say this, that I get asked the same thing time and time and time again, and that is, when am I going to meet somebody? Is things going to change? When am I going to stop feeling so lonely? All of that is part of you deciding that it's time for you to move forward and take some action. If you want to meet somebody, leave your house. Join a community group. Join a volunteer group.
Shared interests. Almost always.
Absolutely shared interests. And we all hate dating online. I wouldn't date online. I'd rather stick a fork in my eye than date online. But if you want to meet somebody or you want a change, the old saying, if you want something different, if you want a different ending. What's the saying, Laurie? I've forgotten it. If you want a different result,
outcome,
you've got to do something different. And there's too many people doing exactly the same. And
stop looking for a partner. Stop looking for that one and only. Go out and have some fun and go. Like what I learned when I eventually started to enjoy dating, I stopped looking for it because I realized I was just trying to partner up to. I ended up having a hell of a good time.
Okay.
I did. And what I did is I was like, I'm going to treat this like I'm networking instead of looking, because I realized I was still like working off social programming of you should be looking for that partner in person, even though I consciously knew I did not want that, right? I did not want to be a wife again, but I was in that default mode, right? And so I decided, I was like, well, I don't walk into a business networking event looking for who could be my business partner. Where's the next joint venture? I'm like, I wonder who's here. Maybe they're interesting. And so I treated dating like that. And then instead of complaining, and funny enough, what got me to do it was the very first date I went on, and it was after work. I was working in tech at the time.
You told
I was meeting up for dinner, right? And the guy's birthday, the day and the month was the same as my first husband's, and the year was my second husband's, right? I've talked about that. And so I knew that I was going to learn something on that date, but it was this was a solid no. The universe was very clear to me that day. And, but it was from that date. And I thought, well, he wasn't a bad guy. He was a really nice man, but he was obviously looking for a partner or wifey. And I had just started dating. I wasn't wanting that. And I didn't know that in fact, I know now I never want that again. I never want that again. I am so content in my own company. I want somebody, maybe if they're worth traveling with, to travel, but I don't mind traveling by myself.
That'd be nice. I don't mind traveling by myself. I
love eating by myself.
Things with.
And like when you see something really cool and you're like, oh, look at that. And they're like, oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah.
I would love someone to travel with and
carry the bags.
Carry the bags. I would like to be proposed to. I've never been proposed to.
Oh, wow. I have.
And I think that I would really like that. My whole proposal with my ex-husband was really bizarre. Not by any malice or anything like that. It was Valentine's Day, the 29th of February. We were watching Saturday morning television and it said, oh, you can propose to your boyfriend today or something like that.
Oh, Sadie Hawkins Day.
I was going into the bathroom and I said, so you're going to marry me then? And he said, yeah, all right. That was the proposal. He did get down on one knee outside the kebab shop on the way home from the pub 2 weeks later. But it wasn't particularly romantic. So, yes, I would like a proposal.
You are proving what I always say. See, I have a Libra moon. You are a Taurus sun. And I always say Libra energy is not about the hearts and flowers,
Taurus energy is. Taurus is all about the romance and the lovey-dovey stuff and the, give somebody a squishy and some roses and do the romantic dinner. Libra honestly isn't. They're looking for mutuality and shared experience maybe. But and I'm going to try to do this before I leave. I want to go to a florist and get a yellow or peace rose or a yellow rose, just one, with a short stem, and put it on my late husband's grave. And even though our marriage ended, I still see him. I think it's why probably the second marriage didn't work out. I never got over him. He was the love of my life. But the most romantic thing that ever happened was that 19-year-old boy, because I was 18 and he was 19 when we met, we were in Watford. We lived on he lived on Whippendale Road. We didn't live together yet because that was like our first date. He leapt over somebody's garden wall, semi-detached, plucked a rose, leapt back over, cool as a cucumber, and went to me like that. And it was the most wonderful stolen rose. That is romantic to me.
Yeah. I find that, like, romance to me is somebody making an effort, just an effort,
just to try.
And my ex-husband was very romantic in his own way. And I used to come home from work because when the kids were small, I worked in the city, but I would start work at 6 p.m. So there would be a crossover, and I did 3 nights a week. It was working for an insurance company, and I would drive home, and I would get home and the outside table would be laid with white linen and wine glasses for my dinner, and he would run a bath for me, and this is why
you're still friends.
This is why we're still very good friends. He makes romantic gestures even though we are not romantically involved.
That is so sweet.
That sweatshirt that I told you about last week, he bought me. He will still make romantic. I don't think they're romantic gestures. They are friend gestures.
But they're caring. He's attentive. Yeah, thoughtful. To me, that's romance. Yeah.
He is more thoughtful since we got divorced than he ever was when we were married. He never remembered my birthday. He never remembered my Christmas. He remembered Christmas because I sorted the kids out and whatever, but I don't think I remember him waking up on the morning of my birthday with small kids and, I need to go to the local petrol station and get a card. That's his, and I would always say, do you know what? My birthday's at the same time every single year. But now he will go out of his way to give me something that is very meaningful. Which is really
that's
sweet.
Lovely.
And he gets excited that he's thought of something. I say that now, and he won't have thought of something for my birthday.
Unless he listens.
He doesn't listen to this. I can guarantee you he doesn't listen to this. He might. Maybe he does. No. But yeah,
I'm just teasing.
He is more, not romantic. He is more thoughtful now. But yeah, but that's what I mean. I would like to be proposed to. I don't necessarily want a relationship. I don't necessarily actually want to get married, but I would like the romantic gesture.
That's sweet.
But that's, like that. Yeah.
Before we end, before we wind up, we've got a full moon this week.
Okay, what's coming up in the full moon? Because I ain't feeling too bright and chirpy about this current energy. I'm going to be honest.
No. One of the reasons, go ahead.
We are recording this a week early, and not long since.
Well, we're ahead of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, but this episode's coming out after that.
Right.
Things are not going to diminish quickly in world events.
Yeah.
I think we could, I just want you to know if you're feeling, and because again, I go over the astrology on my own podcast, the Awake-Space Astrology Podcast, so I'm not going to duplicate that here. But what I will say, just if you're listening and you're more into like Matilda's stuff, if you're having big feelings with this full moon, This is a big release. This is the Scorpio full moon. It happens every year. The full moon is always when the sun and the moon are opposite each other. The sun will be in Taurus. The moon will be in Scorpio. That is why it's the Scorpio full moon, because it's opposite the Taurus sun, right? Because they're in the sister signs. Yeah, they're in the sister signs. So
I knew a bit of astrology there.
You did. You got it. So this is intense. It could be very healing. I want you to, instead of looking at the wounding or the trauma or the stuff that put you in the pit, I want you to see this more as a resurrection energy, a restoration energy. Because honestly, as ugly as everything is looking out in the world, and it's really easy to find ugly things, the energy is actually all leading to restoration. Speaking of being psychic, I get words, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the word I have had since January, and it keeps coming, restoration, restoration, restoration. And part of what we're seeing in the world is a completion of events that did not resolve after World War II. We put some Band-Aids on things. We pretended everything was okay. And we let just when you put a Band-Aid over an unwashed wound, it'll fester. That's what things have to come up. And I know it sounds like a euphemism. I am not diminishing the horrors that are out there in the world. I'm not. But on an individual level, you have to bring your energy back in, allow what needs to be transmuted within you, your grief, your sorrow, your rage, your resentment. You need to bring it up and let it release safely, not in other people's directions, not internalizing it. Let it transmute in this full moon. It'll be building ahead of time. I'm going to try to make sure I have this uploaded ahead of that full moon. And Matilda had something today that we're going to kind of gloss because I don't want her to dig into it. She saw something online that really upset her, and it's still, I know it's impacting her right now. I can see it and feel it. And
it wasn't pleasant.
It was not pleasant. And so what is your advice to people when they see things that kind of draw them in just out of the, oh my God, shock and
I
horror?
get a lot of this and a lot of these questions online, and I see some horrible things in my head. And sadly, I did see something online, and it really affected me, and it was concerning an animal. And I think Laurie just saw my energy just drain when I started talking about it earlier. Don't lean into things. It is the same as leaning into your trauma. You are re-traumatizing yourself every time you watch something that traumatizes you. We are not belittling what is happening in the world, but what I am trying to do is build a resilience or help you guys build a resilience to understand that sitting in that pain and sitting in that trauma is not helping you.
It's not helping anybody else either.
It's not, and it's not helping anybody else. There is a saying that if somebody is drowning, you have a choice. You can jump in the water with them and drown with them, or you can throw them a life raft. If you are drowning, you cannot throw a life raft. Look after your energy. We are all sensitives. We all have the ability. We talk about, and so many people will come online and say, I have intuition and I know this and I know that. That's amazing. But don't lean into what you're picking up, what you're watching, what you're listening to. You can only watch so many traumatic things on social media and on the television before it really does affect your mental health.
It's very debilitating, and it throws you off your pathway in your service when you do it. And I've had it happen too. We all do it. We're human, and we're going to be drawn to things and be like, oh no. And you can be a witness to world events without joining in the suffering, because you can't serve and help alleviate suffering if you're in the suffering.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people are going to be needing a lot of help as we go forward through this year.
It's not a pleasant year, and we've been talking about this. Both Laurie and I made you all aware that April was going to be a shit show back in our 2024 podcast, 2023 podcast that we did at the end of last year together. April was always going to be difficult, but it's going to be rolling and rolling and rolling this year. But on a personal level, most of you will get to choose how much you engage in that. And it doesn't mean to say that you have to sit in the misery of what is surrounding.
And you're not bypassing. You're not bypassing to transmute. In fact, you do more to heal and serve and help when you're transmuting that energy in you, because then you can find a path of action to take, whether it's fundraising, whether it's food raising. You have to remember, we're going to have a massive supply chain break, and we're already having issues in the United States. I don't know if you saw, and I had food supply issues for this month as well, actually most of the year and into next year, yada, yada. But avian flu's hit some of the cattle ranches. So they're going to be shutting down beef production. Food prices, again, I don't think we're going to see a drop in inflation.
But you've also got an infestation coming up that I believe it's coming up very, very soon. We get fire. It's going to be very biblical. Fires, floods, and what's the other one? The pestilence, because I think the pestilence is going to cause an issue. I said that a couple of months ago, and I think that's about to hit too, both in Australia and the US.
Probably Eastern Europe too.
Yeah, probably. But I just, for me today, I was very, very affected by a news story that I read regarding an animal, and many of you will probably know the one that I'm referring to. And it just took my energy because I became engulfed in it. So I had to literally I wanted to find out a piece of information to make sure that an animal didn't suffer for as long, but just by looking, it made it even worse for me. So I've had to switch off, and you guys can do that too. Being sensitive is very, very difficult. And
it's very difficult.
Again, it's a really boring psychological statement, but who do you put the mask on first? If you are in an aircraft and you need the oxygen mask, you put it on yourself. And you have to have that resilience, because resilience is key.
It's everything.
And
it's everything. Yeah. Well, on that cheery note, you can join us on May 4th and 5th for more entertaining predictions that might or might not scare the pants off you. They won't. We'll be nice. We promise.
We will be nice, but we
might be a little silly.
We might be a little bit silly. And watch out on social media, because I believe that Laurie is probably going to post some outtakes that are quite hilarious. Yes, that was.
They have to get hilarious. Them. Oh my God, the last one was. I still can't believe I stole your sneeze.
Oh. I was desperate to sneeze, and she said, bless you, before I could sneeze, and that just steals it.
I did. I stole the sneeze. The look she gave me, man, it was brilliant. Oh, my God. All right.
Well, thank you for joining us, and we will see you same time next week. And we will see where Laurie is.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see.